For the 8th time in 9 days and for the 15th time this month, Kirby and the Dogs pick up another giant commitment in the 2026 class. They are on an absolute tear right now, and they may not be done. I mean, they are on a crazy run right now, and today they landed a commitment from four-star defensive lineman P.J. Dean out of North Carolina, a guy that they've been recruiting for a long time. He is the brother of former Georgia Bulldogs center Jared Wilson, a guy who dominates at left tackle for his West Forsyth squad, a guy that they recruited early in his recruitment as an offensive lineman. This spring, he decided, hey, I'm going to start going to these camps and working out for these college coaches on the defensive line. And now he has gone from one of the best offensive line prospects in the country to one of the best defensive line prospects in the country. P.J. Dean, a massive commitment, chose the Dogs today over South Carolina and Ohio State. Georgia's been on him for a long time. I took a really good picture of him giving Kirby Smart a big handshake and a big hug over a year ago at Georgia's G-Day scrimmage in 2024. So a guy that has always been high on their radar and on the recruiting board, a guy that they've been, have held in high regard for a long time. And today they have landed his commitment. Thought the Buckeyes were the team to beat basically for most of the spring heading into June. I don't know what happened there, but it doesn't matter now. I think in the end, he did choose Georgia over South Carolina. But this is a guy that is one of the best in that part of the country. North Carolina is a state that produces a lot of excellent prospects, and P.J. Dean is absolutely one of them. You can read more about him and watch his highlights, which are fantastic, by the way, over on Dawg Post for free. So make sure you are checking that out. But he's got a lean frame. He's really athletic, 6'3", maybe a shade under 6'4", 255 pounds. So not the biggest guy, not the heaviest guy, but he's got a lot of muscle. He's got a lot of quickness. And at left tackle, this dude was a pancake machine last year, just driving guys 5-10 yards backwards and into the ground, play after play after play. Now, he didn't light up the stat sheet on defense because he played there sparingly, right? He was their main left tackle and occasionally played on defense, but still some impressive clips out there of him just firing off the ball, throwing opposing linemen backwards on his way to the quarterback. I think he only made around 13 or so tackles, 3 sacks, but the dude has dominated during the camp circuit this spring and into the summer. And every time he worked out for a college staff on defense, including Georgia, from everything I've gathered, they said, you know what? We're going to take you on defense. So the second he gets to Athens and can focus on defense solely, his game is only going to get better and better and better. So he's one of the more promising defensive line prospects in the country. And again, a lot of it is due to his size. He's got plenty of muscle. I think 255, he's like 90%, 95% muscle on him. There's not an ounce of fat on the kid. And he can move really well. He's got violent hands. He does show some explosiveness, getting off the snap, living in the backfield. So there's obviously a lot to like about his game. He can win with speed. He bends well. He can get underneath those big kind of heavier offensive tackles. Plays with good balance, but he's strong enough to overpower guys as well. So just another massive pickup for Trey Scott. And I will say this, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave him snaps on offense because they did recruit him to play on the offensive line. And he was ranked at one point as one of the top 5 offensive line prospects in the country. Tackle, guard, I think he was a versatile offensive lineman. Now he's ranked as the number 4 defensive line prospect in the country, number 68 overall. So the kid can absolutely play. But if I'm Stacey Searles, I'm going over to Trey Scott and Kirby Smart and say, hey, let's see what he can do at offensive tackle, right? And maybe they give him more of a look there than I think. But I do expect him to come to Athens playing on the defensive side of the football, unless I'm completely wrong. I don't think I am, but either way, no matter where this kid's lined up, he is going to make plays. He's really active. And again, a guy that they have developed a relationship for a while. They know his family, obviously recruited his brother. He's very familiar with Athens, and they've been in his top group for, throughout his recruitment. Can't blame him for really looking hard at Ohio State for a while, and I do think they were the team to beat. And again, I don't know what happened there, but in the end, I was told that this came down to Georgia and South Carolina. The Gamecocks wanted him badly. They've been in the mix firmly with him for a long, long time as well. But at the end of the day, I think his familiarity with the Georgia staff, the Georgia program, being comfortable with him, not only him, but his family being comfortable with everyone on staff as well. And listen, when Trey Scott wants you, it's hard to say no. He's done an excellent job throughout his time at Georgia, and he gets his 5th defensive line commitment in this class. And again, he may not be done. He might add another one later tonight. So just keep an eye on that. So, I mean, the guy is crushing it right now on the recruiting trail. Had 3 guys early on. I say early on. Carter Lucky committed at the end of May. You could, I mean, as good as they have been in the month of June, they got some at the end of May too on the commit list. So over the last 5-6 weeks, nobody has been doing it better. They had Seven Cloud. They got Corey Howard last week on the defensive line. Then James Johnson jumping on board, the number 2 defensive line prospect in the country. That guy is an animal up front, and a guy that Georgia fans are going to absolutely love. But PJ Dean is a guy that I think they're going to be very happy with as well. I think he could play that 7 technique, maybe slide in and play that 5. So he's going to be over the tackle and, working between the tackle and the guard. So he's going to have his hand in the ground. I think he's bigger than the outside linebacker edge types that they've been bringing in slightly, but he could play with his, standing up depending on the situation. But if they're in that 3-4, I do think who will have his hand in the ground as that, traditional kind of defensive end type. But again, he could play the 7, he could play the 5, and bring Georgia's defensive line more versatility there. But he's got a lean frame, the ability to add even more weight, more muscle when he gets to Georgia. And he's a really, really good athlete, and he moves well, and he does show the explosiveness that you need for a guy flying off the edge, so to speak, still with his hand in the ground. But he can get after the quarterback and make plays in the backfield. And I do think that if they needed him to be an emergency offensive lineman for a week or 2, they could bring him on that side, give him some reps, and maybe he impresses there. But that's a position where everyone thought he would be at the next level. But he said, you know what, I'm going to show everyone what I can do on defense too. And, he shot up the defensive line rankings as well. So listen, another giant commitment for the Dogs. They've been rolling, and they may not be done. It's been one of the biggest months I've ever covered in Georgia Bulldog recruiting. I've been doing this for 11 years now, and they are as hot as they have ever been. And they're going to get more commits in July. This thing's not over. This Georgia train is going to keep rolling, and they may add another defensive lineman here soon. So hard to find a better defensive line class across the country. Trey Scott has always been an assistant coach that Georgia fans love. If you're a Georgia fan, you are hoping Trey Scott is there forever. His resume speaks for itself, and now you're seeing him go into other states and get these elite defensive linemen who, again, are turning down less money to come to Georgia. I don't know the NIL deals or offers that they have with PJ Dean here, but I don't think it really matters in this case. This is a guy that's always liked Georgia and is now jumping on board and, giving Georgia another outstanding top 100 player in the country on defense. And, as I've said many times, you have to have an elite defensive line if you're going to win big. And they are adding those guys in this class. Elijah Griffin, the number 1 defensive line prospect in the country. They got him in the last cycle. Now James Johnson, PJ Dean, promising, 7-5 technique, and Corey Howard out of Valdosta, whose best football is ahead of him. Carter Lucky, one of the more productive defensive line prospects in the state, is on board. And again, that may not be done. Some more information could be coming there. But another massive pickup. I've got stories over on Dawg Post. If you missed any of these big-time commitments this month, if you've been on vacation, doing whatever, I'm sure you may have missed some of the news. You can read all about it over on Dawg Post. You can read about their gigantic week, watch clips and highlights of all of Georgia's newest commitments over on Dawg Post. But this time, another day, another commitment, right? This time it is PJ Dean, 6'3", maybe 6'4" defensive line prospect with his best football ahead of him, 255, all muscle. The kid can absolutely play. And under Trey Scott and this Georgia staff on defense, he is only going to get better and better. top 100 player in the country, again, committing to the Dogs. Massive pickup. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. You can read more about him and watch his outstanding junior highlights over on Dawg Post for free. So make sure you're checking that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you over on Dawg Post.